All right, guys, here is my audience, all five of them, and then there's Juno two. And we will begin. Take two. All right. So thank you guys for coming down to my presentation. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know this is a little longer than it was last time, but I just like you guys to come in. Welcome to the Big Leapers training course. Huh? But I can cut stuff out. I can cut it out. So last time I had you guys come in for my first presentation, I geared it towards new employees and your first day on the job. I wanted to do it a little differently this time because most of you guys have already been here for a while and you already had your first day. So we're going to switch it up a little, and I'm going to be gearing the presentation towards crew leaders. The technical difficulties this day has been giving me is just ridiculous. Whatever, she gets so much. All right, so a brief history of trimming. People have already been trimming and pruning their plants for centuries, but the trimming as a job in the cannabis industry is a relatively new thing. Before, it was kind of this movement of people that would flock to Northern California, to primarily Arcata as the central location, and then they go out to their farms and trim black market weed. Now, it being legalized, you can just walk into a shop and apply for a job to be a bona fide trimmer. So that's kind of how things have changed over time. A little bit about where we came from. John and I, we actually met in Northern California at a trim camp, and that sort of blossomed into the eventual Big Leaf Alaska. So another thing that happens a lot is people want to know, well, why do we hand trim? Why don't we machine trim? Well, we hand trim because of the quality of product that we can get from the hand trimming. We know that we will not waste any of their weed. We know that we'll keep the bud structure really intact, and we'll have a nice customized product for them when it's all finished. A machine trim really takes away from that, and it really can't ever guarantee the same quality that you can with a person. There's trimmers don't have algorithms to have good quality product, whereas a person can look at it and know that, like, okay, I don't need to take off this leaf because it's just not necessary. It's just going to make the leaf look ugly. Other things that we kind of go over is wet versus dry trimming. Doing a little bit of research, I found that some of the pros to wet trimming is that it can be more efficient because the bud structure is like, it's really plump, like the weed's really plump, and so it gives you a lot more to work with. However, it can cut down on the quality because you end up cutting into things and the trichomes and things like that won't be there anymore after you're done trimming it wet. Whereas when you trim it dry, you keep that quality in mind, and it really falls into place with how we trim, and how facilities are able to facilitate our system of trimming. So being a crew leader means, well, you're going to be a leader. So you need to have certain leadership qualities and work on that, as how you represent the company and how you fulfill that role in the best way you possibly can. So what is a Big Leaf crew leader? Well, first and foremost, they represent Big Leaf Alaska in every facility they go to, which means, making sure that we are the cleanest, most professional guests in their facility that we possibly can be. And that carries over to the crews as well. If the crew leader shows up and is ready to go, knows what they're doing, has their scrubs on, has their badge and everything, then the crews are going to follow that. And so it goes both ways, of course. The crew leader facilitates efficiency. We don't expect the crew leader to have the same trim weights necessarily as your crew members. Because why? Because we want them to make sure that our crew members don't need to get up for anything. They don't need to clean their own scissors. They don't need to empty their own bins, because then it just cuts back on efficiency for everyone. The crew leader's job is to make sure that we are working as efficiently as possible without as little downtime as possible. We can avoid, obviously we can't avoid bathroom breaks and things like that, but it's very important, and the facility managers recognize that, when you got people wandering around all day, obviously we're not working quickly. And that goes into point of contact. You guys are the point of contact between us owners and managers to the facility employees and managers. And then also that rolls into keeping everything organized. We want to make sure that our stuff is put away at the end of the day and picked up, and it's the crew leader's job to make sure that that's done. As well as keeping daily logs. You guys all know what that is, making sure we keep a daily record of what we're doing. Those are the main roles of the crew leader. How to be a good leader, that is across the board. It doesn't matter whether you're trimming weed or, working in an office or driving trucks. If you're going to be in charge of some people and want to have good leadership skills, some key points on thinking about to develop that kind of skill is you want to set an example. We already talked about that. You want to represent the company, set an example. If you were the entry-level employee, what would you want your crew leader or your manager to be like, and kind of follow that. You want to continue to build upon your leadership skills. It's not you hit a mark and you're done. It's a lifelong thing, Accountability, that's a huge one. A good leader is always willing to own up to their mistakes and make it right. We don't, a good leader doesn't blame others for why something didn't get done or it wasn't as good as it could have been. A good leader knows their team, and that's also really important. You want to be able to connect with the people that are working with you every day. And don't be afraid to delegate. That's a good one too. You don't want to be afraid to, we're just going to go over this 10 minutes. It's just going to happen. We're going to roll with it. You don't be afraid to delegate, because you are in a position where people look up to you and they expect you to do it. They expect you to show them what's expected of the entry-level employee and help them to reach those goals. And if they don't know it's an issue, if they don't know they're supposed to be doing it, then they can't fix it. And so it's our job as leaders to make sure that kind of stuff is out in the open. And then obviously a good leader makes sure that the job is done, so they don't leave things on open-ended or not cleaned out for incomplete. Newbies. So one of the big things with the crew leader is that they're gonna be working with new employees and with new clients. If you're a crew leader at a new client facility, we could visit this checklist, but for time's sake, we're not going to. All of you guys already had gotten the checklist in our last meeting. But if you don't know the answer to something, you're at a new client facility and they ask you an off-the-wall question, you just don't know how to answer them, then don't answer them. Just tell them you don't know and give us a call, because that's another thing with being a crew leader is you're not expected to know everything. And so, don't feel like you're doing something wrong if you don't know the answer, because that's totally okay. You just give us a call and we'll take it from there. New employees also have a checklist attached that we went over in the last meeting. But a big one with new employees is making sure that they are having the appropriate conversation. That's kind of something we end up having to bring up a lot with new employees is they're excited to be there, and maybe they've grown all this weed in their lifetime and they got all kinds of 2 cents to put into it. Um, a really important thing that crew leaders need to do with their new employees is make sure that they're aware of what should and shouldn't be said while we're at a or while we're guests in a facility. We're not going to talk about how bad their weed is, or about all the bugs in our closet grow or anything like that could, if overheard, could be kind of damaging to our reputation. So those are all important for new people. And then the last slide, at the end of the day, we're here to help. That's what Big Leaf Alaska is. That is by definition what we do. We come in and we help our clients out. And that needs to carry over to our employees as well. And so that's a big value for Big Leaf Alaska, is making sure that everybody gets all the help they need. They have all the resources to be successful. So some tips and tricks for crew leaders: always check your T-sheets. Really, you should be checking it every day. And I know this is like repetitive for you guys, but checking T-shirts every day, checking T-sheets the weekend before. You know what your crews look like for the following week, and you have a good handle on what's going on. Show up a little bit early to your shifts, because then you can get things set up. You can make sure that the lead growers got everything they need. You're not having to set up the room for everybody to come in while they're coming in already. It should already be ready to go, so that when trimmers walk in, all they got to do is sit down in a seat and get to work. And keeping them focused is also really important. Whatever you got to do, if it's some people, they do little games, other people they listen to a podcast together, anything to kind of keep everybody on track. And then just kind of a cool thing, if your trimmers can trim 2 grams in a minute, then they'll trim 2 pounds in an 8-hour shift. So it's a kind of a good reference to have. So even 1 gram a minute means they're hitting their pound a day. Obviously, I'll repeat this. If you don't know, just give us a call, because that's what we're here for, is to help you guys be successful. And we're all pretty much a family. We do a lot of things together, and we look out for each other, and that's really important. It's something that we will continue to do. I really appreciate you guys coming down and taking what was going to be 10 minutes out of your day that became 20 minutes out of your day, but I greatly appreciate it. And then next time, we're going to go over the actual sitting and trimming the weed, as well as maybe, if there's time, going over joints. Thanks, you guys, and thank you. Do some editing.